Hi, and thanks for joining us for this video. We have some very important information to share. I think you'll be super encouraged and also clarify on some very important information. So my name is Roy Beyer. I'm the executive director of A Better Calgary Party. And of course, first of all, I want to start, given what's happening this weekend, on behalf of the leadership of the ABC Party, for all of those who are Christian or Jewish, this is to wish you a happy Easter and a Passover weekend, a blessed Passover weekend. It's not always those two celebrations coincide, but this year it does. And so, of course, for everyone, we wish you a great weekend of celebration, a little bit of a break, and time with the family as well. So, to clarify, as executive director, I am working under the direction of the duly elected ABC Board of Directors. So, we are a team, and at this point, until we have a mayoral candidate, I, along with the party president, Gordon Elliott, will serve as spokesperson for the party. So you'll hear from me from time to time or from Gordon and then we hope to have a mayoral candidate, and that may change. But what a busy time it's been. I know our members have been very preoccupied with the federal election. It's causing a lot of people stress and worry and everything else. So this month has been a bit of a write-off, but we've had to accept the limitation and just focus in on organizing behind the scenes. But this will change, and as soon as this federal election is behind us, we're going to be full speed ahead. And so this is a quick update on the party, including what's immediately in front of us. But I'm going to cover some background for people who are new, not understanding how ABC Party got started. So all very important information. So what's immediately in front of us is this thing called the bypass vote. It's in our Constitution. It's been promised, and there's reasons for us to do that. So again, this was only made possible because we've achieved official political party status. We wanted to do this a long time ago. Curveball was thrown at us. We had to delay, but we have achieved that political party status with nearly 2,000 members. So, the good news is we still have plenty of time to carry out our plan for a best possible mayor and city council. So, yes, things have to be really well organized after the federal election, but we will be. And just a bit of background, though, on ABC and how we got started, who we are. This does answer some very, very important questions for people. It was just over a year ago, coming out of the fiasco of the paper bag ban and the blanket rezoning that was pushed against the will of Calgarians. And in the midst, by the way, of the water main breaks and the Green Line mess, on and on we can go, a group of community organizers and activists started meeting weekly to develop a plan to rid ourselves of the current mayor and most of the current council, to elect a council mayor that would respect the wishes and priorities of the citizens of Calgary. We knew what we faced would be a challenge because for at least 3 elections in a row, common sense center-right candidates kept talking about finding a way to stop the vote splitting, to narrow the field, to run the best candidates, but never achieved success. The talk was there, but there wasn't the will or the mechanism. In fact, in the last election, we had 27 people running for mayor. It was just insane. What ended up happening is there was a group that won, a group called Calgary's Future, and they operated like a political party. They represented, by the way, the public sector unions, and they created a slate of candidates behind their own private agenda. They selected one person for mayor and one for each ward, and they put their volunteers and money behind their slates to get most of their people elected. As with most slates, these candidates represented the agenda of the money that put them there, the agenda of Calgary's future, not of the citizens of Calgary. Now, how do we know that? Well, it's easy. Just look at how they voted. They voted, and even when it was overwhelmingly apparent what the people of Calgary wanted on blanket rezoning, they voted against what the people wanted. So the solution that we came up with, and it was made possible, by the way, by legislation passed by the Alberta government last spring, was to form a political party, a broad-based political party around which common sense Calgarians could rally. I was privileged to be one of the co-chairs of the founding committee, group of about 30 people who met weekly to figure this out. Okay, and so we launched last June 19th with about 300 people invited to the event to share the vision, the concept, the idea, and inviting others to join. That was 10 months ago, well before any other group announced plans for a political party. Now, of course, in forming a political party, we embraced conventional ideas about what a party does, right? So we had members with a vote. We would be community based, very focused on communities, having ward associations in all 14 wards across the city of Calgary. So we wanted leaders from each of the communities involved. We also needed a nomination process. This is very practical and democratic, where if you have a number of good people who feel strongly that they're the best candidate, that they would be able to make their case. And then the members would vote to choose who would be that person around which we would all rally. It's a way of narrowing the field that is fair and transparent. And so we didn't think any of this was controversial, and we were hoping that we'd see broad support for this concept. We were, by the way, very deliberate in reaching out to a broad spectrum of key leaders aspiring to get involved, candidates for the next election. We knew who they were. We wanted to invite their ideas, their input, their feedback, etc. In fact, our founding committee of about 30 people included people who in the last election had leadership roles or primary roles connection with people like Jeremy Farkas, Dan McLean, Jeff Davison, Andre Chabot, and others. So this was very purposeful. We wanted to figure it out on behalf of these candidates, what would be a process that would best serve Calgarians. The invitation was to work together. Let's not reinvent the wheel. All federal and provincial political parties are organized more or less in the same manner, with voting memberships, associations built on voting districts, nomination process. It just made sense to do the same. So by late August of last year, we had ward associations organized in 13 of Calgary's 14 wards. It took some months, unfortunately, for the party to come to agreement as to the details of the bylaws and the constitution of the party. But it was a worthwhile exercise to satisfy the concerns of as many people as possible, to allow us to be a big tent party. And that founding convention took place last October with about 300 people in attendance. And this is where the curveball was thrown at us. Just hours before the founding convention, additional regulations were announced by the Alberta government that required, just again, immediately after we officially got started, for ABC Party to shut down our bank accounts and to cease operations until we achieved new thresholds that includes items that we could not have possibly expected. For example, that we would have a membership. You needed 1,000 members to sign a petition, but we were not allowed to charge a fee for those members, right? So that's, well, political parties usually charge $5, $10, $15. We had to drop that. And then we had to get a new petition going, or the requirement for 6 candidates in 6 wards, one in each of those wards, I should say. And again, we anticipated a nomination process by which we had come up with candidates. So we had to reorganize, we had to improvise, we had to jump through these new hoops, but we are now registered as a political party. We achieved that status, as I said, with 2,000 members, and now we're ready to go full speed ahead. It's catch-up time for A Better Calgary Party. But again, there's more than enough time to get the job done, to fulfill our vision for a real political party. Voting and active members, right? So our communities being included, built around these ward associations where we have leaders from all parts of the city having input, a proven mechanism to avoid this vote splitting. That is the nomination process. So think about it. Have you ever heard of a political party, federal or provincial, where there were no, again, no associations of members, no nomination process, no voting members? It just doesn't exist. So everyone agrees as to what a real political party looks like. So these others here in Calgary call them a political party respectfully. I'm not saying they're bad people. It's just their approach is a bad one. And more importantly, it will likely fail unless we fix it. Having a small circle of insiders self-selecting or picking for a ward who their candidate will be, well, it's just not right. It's not trusting the people, again, that they will get it right. We believe the ABC way is the right way, providing that mechanism for narrowing the fields. And as a demonstration of our commitment to avoid splitting the vote between like-minded candidates, we built into the bylaws of our party a provision for bypass vote. And now, if you don't know what a bypass vote is, we're going to explain it now. Let me explain what it is. In accordance with this one-time provision, okay, this is the only time, because we're transitioning from a system for electing council where there is no political party, one where there is. And good incumbents don't need a party, but we want to have a mechanism that will allow us to not run against a good incumbent. Okay, so here it is. In accordance with the one-time provision outlined in the party bylaws, and with the objective of avoiding vote splitting between like-minded candidates, the ABC party will offer to endorse or otherwise refrain from nominating a candidate in a given ward, but only with the express permission of ABC membership as determined by a vote of those members in that ward. Do you understand? In a given ward, let's say you have a good candidate, a good incumbent. I can think about 2 or 3 here in Calgary that might be worthy of a yes vote here. But the bypass vote will allow the members to decide if we're going to offer the endorsement or not. Not me, not the board, the members in the ward. It will be conducted in all wards, okay? So including where the incumbent has announced their intention to not seek re-election. So the reason is because some of these incumbents, they will announce their intention to not run again, and they'll wait for a whole bunch of people to jump in, and then they'll use their name recognition and change their mind. So just in the case of any incumbent reversing their decision, we want to make sure we have a clear instruction from all our members in every ward as to whether to accept, offer an endorsement, or to run a candidate. And we expect, of course, the result will be, in most instances, it's going to be a hard no to offering these incumbents any kind of a bypass. The vote will take place, by the way, through a very secure online platform. It'll be multiple days, I believe close to a week. You can vote 24/7, only once. This is the only exception to our rule of in-person voting on a paper ballot with a hand count. Okay, so we have that built into our bylaws, but for practical reasons, it's impossible for us to have a bypass vote without having this online platform mechanism. The deadline has come and gone. You had to be a member by, I believe it was April 13th to vote. And the bypass vote, again, will be instruction from the members. Now, there's a few questions that people have. The biggest concern that I've heard, is that people say, what if our members vote yes to a really bad incumbent? Fair enough. That's my concern too. It's like, but I'm thinking, okay, I have to remind myself who our members are. These are very dedicated people who are very grassroots and who care about Calgary. So knowing who they are, I have every confidence that current members will know who to replace. And in most instances, they're going to vote a hard no to endorsing a current candidate, right? A current incumbent, I should say. I foresee a yes vote in 3, maybe 4, but the members will decide and not me. Okay, so the next question, can ward associations or members try to influence the outcome of the vote? Yes, within your own ward, you can speak to your own members. In fact, we want to encourage that on this bypass questions. Members and ward associations are encouraged to speak up. So either in favor of a yes vote, giving reasons to not run a candidate against a specific incumbent, or in most instances, a recommendation for a no vote with a long list of reasons of why that incumbent needs to be replaced. Okay, so in this process, members are going to be reminded. This is the reason. First of all, to avoid the vote splitting, to remind you that your vote counts, but also the depth of failure of the current city council mayor, to get motivated behind a real plan to elect the best possible council mayor. What's next? Well, over the coming days, nominations will be opened in a number of wards, with nominations events coming very soon in all the wards, other than those where our members vote yes for bypass. So thank you very much. I hope you found that instructive and encouraging. And stay in touch. We have so much more.